Imagine a 3-year-old girl going to school for the first time. It takes 15 years for that little girl to be transformed into a confident teenager by the time she is complete with her school education. That 15-year is a complex set of actors, parents, teachers, administrators, content creators, academicians, community, technologists, whole lot of people come together, the classmates of that girl, all of them come together to make it an education journey for that 3-year-old to become a 18-year-old. In a country like that, we have 260 million such children learning in 22 languages across 60 boards of education, each autonomous, taught in 1.4 million schools, taught by 9.5 million teachers. When you are faced with something as large, as diverse, as complex as this, the question we asked as EkStep Foundation when we were set up in 2015 was, what is the role technology can play in solving for education outcomes? That thinking led us to the DPI approach, and some of us were anyway part of the Aadhaar startup journey under the leadership of Nandan Nilekani, who is also my co-founder at EkStep Foundation with Rohini Nilekani. So, we knew how DPIs worked. The question was, how could we use DPIs in education? And if you think about it, the 3 key constructs of DPI, which is a strong digital backbone or infrastructure, appropriate policies and innovation by the ecosystem, are even more relevant in education. And that is how we conceived of a digital infrastructure for education. In fact, it is called Diksha, which is Digital Infrastructure for Knowledge Sharing. EkStep Foundation co-created it with the Government of India and many other players. It was launched in around December 2017 as offering access to local content. So, what it did was, when the Government of India offered this as an infrastructure to all those 60 boards, each board could create their own digital content and link it to the existing textbooks. What this did was, it allowed children to access digital content relevant to them, relevant to the topic they are learning, through the mechanism of unique QR codes in the textbook. So, as a result, 600 million plus textbooks all over India became QR coded and connected to digital content, each created by their respective boards. And as part of implementing the national education policy, where digital infrastructure is a crucial component of technology, what this did was, over 17, 18, 19 and before the pandemic of 2020, there was a mass scale adoption. More than 30 states and union territories out of India's 36 came on board this digital infrastructure offered by the Government of India. So, Diksha was a Government of India infrastructure. EkStep and some of the other not-for-profits came together and co-created this. This infrastructure, on which the various other boards innovated on in their own language, with their own content, and in line with the broad policy architecture of the National Education Policy 2020, is again a very good example of digital public infrastructure in education. But what is DPI? It is that which offers a specific service at population scale, so that others do not have to create that service. Because the Government of India provided this national infrastructure as a service, the various boards could now use that service to link their existing physical content in textbooks in their language with their curriculum to the relevant digital content, innovation on top, and all in line with existing policies. So, this was the first major use case of DPI and an example of innovation by the ecosystem on top. The second example of why Diksha is a good DPI is it is evolvable, and I will give you two examples of that. During pandemic, when school shut down, teacher training also shut down. Learning by children continued because those textbooks were already QR coded and children could access that digital content sitting at home. But how do teachers come together and train? So, very quickly another service was added on Diksha, which is teacher training. And because Diksha was designed as a DPI and using the building blocks, very rapidly a teacher training building block was added. As a result, over the next 2-3 years, 22,000 courses have been created by the ecosystem and close to 140 million teacher credentials have been issued. Around 7 million teachers undergoing these courses and getting the 140 million credentials. Another part of a good DPI is inclusive innovation. In Diksha, it did not matter what kind of a device you had, whether it was a mobile phone, a laptop, a tablet. And if a child did not have access to a digital device, the teachers, and most teachers in India have a device, the teachers could showcase that content in class either through televisions like in certain states or in some cases through their own personal mobile phones, which has happened in other states. So, thinking of inclusive innovation while creating a DPI was a necessity for a country as large and diverse as India. But that is not enough of a DPI, because no DPI is born perfect and fully complete. A good DPI can and must keep evolving. So, when the generative AI disruption hit us all in 2022, there was a great opportunity for Diksha to leverage that and add a generative AI component into Diksha. So, very quickly another service was added wherein a combination of generative AI on Indian languages and using open source digital building blocks came together to create a series of bots for teachers, for parents, where they could access relevant information about how to teach better for teachers, about how to handle children, young children at home for parents, and these answers are in the local language of the teacher or the parent, and they refer to official documents which are mostly in English or Hindi, so that the answers are authoritative and also relevant to the question. So, this is a good example of the evolvability of a DPI and how Diksha was designed for evolvability. The other aspect of a DPI is, does it allow the ecosystem to work better together? As I explained, education is a complex ecosystem. There are so many people working together. A good DPI should be able to help them work better. And a way to do that is through responsible data sharing. Data on usage of content, data on credentialing, which teachers have got which credentials on completing courses. And Diksha was designed for sharing of data responsibly within the system by those who needed that data. It could be data about course completion, data about which content in which language of which subject was being used more, so that the authorities can take better decisions on the back of that. In the case of Diksha, what was different was it was built on a set of open source code that EkStep put together, what we call as digital public goods. In this case, it is Sunbird. What a well designed digital public good does for DPIs is it allows the creation of multiple DPIs. So, while Diksha was created using Sunbird, another learning platform called iGot was also created. This one by the Department of Personnel and Training, and specifically for training government employees. Two different DPIs built of the same digital public good. Why is this important? When other countries want to create their own DPI in education, they don't need to start from scratch. They can take openly available, free to use public good like Sunbird and create their own Diksha. And there's a lot of interest and a lot of efforts going on to take Sunbird by other countries and build their own learning platforms, their own DPIs on top. And that brings me back to a central concept that can differentiate a great DPI from a good DPI, which is the idea of open innovation. In education in particular, we have seen islands of excellence. We have seen silos of innovation. Innovation happens in a particular area by a particular group, but that cannot flow or diffuse to the larger ecosystem. So, open innovation is an idea that is particularly relevant in education, where I can take someone's innovation and build on top. In the case of the generative AI example I gave, Diksha took generative AI technology, took AI for Bharat, open DPIs for language translation, and added a new module on Diksha. This also means that other countries can take certain parts of Sunbird, combine it with other technologies, and create their own unique DPIs. And open innovation, I believe, is a way to maximize the full power of DPIs. But like with anything at EkStep, we believe all solutions have to be people plus technology. And in EdTech, there is a danger of starting with technology and not with people, the learners, the teachers, the parents, and the use cases. So to conclude, our learning has been start with where a system is, what are the current problems it is facing, what can be transformed through a combination of a digital infrastructure, innovation on top, in line with existing policies, and then work with the large existing ecosystem in your countries and avoid the pitfall of just looking at what is not there. Look at what you already have. In India, we had a lot of textbooks. In India, we knew teachers had cell phones. A lot of schools had basic infrastructure. Building on what is abundant to create your own DPI is very important, and resisting the urge to copying another DPI because it worked well. It's a fascinating journey. In India, we are still on the journey, but I would be very happy to learn from your experiences and share our experiences in more detail for those interested. Thank you.